Pablo Picasso wasn't just a painter, he was a disruptor. Someone who looked at the world, decided it didn't make sense, and rebuilt it through color, shape, and emotion. His art didn't just influence the 20th century, it defined it. And even today, whether you're scrolling through abstract digital art, watching experimental films, or seeing a fashion line that bends identity and structure, Picasso's fingerprints are still there. What made Picasso stand out wasn't just that he was talented, it was that he was relentless. He was never satisfied. Every time the world tried to understand him, he changed again. He once said, "I am always doing that which I cannot do in order that I may learn how to do it." That was his entire philosophy. He lived in constant motion, never stuck, never predictable. When you look at his work, you're not just seeing paintings, you're seeing his mind unravel and rebuild itself in real time. His early work from the blue and rose periods feels deeply emotional. You can almost sense his loneliness bleeding through the brush. Those cold, muted blues, the faces of beggars, blind men, and broken souls, weren't there to impress anyone. They were his way of saying, "This is how it feels to be human when the world doesn't love you back." Then, almost abruptly, he flipped the script. The rose period arrived. Brighter tones, circus performers, lovers, a gentler kind of sadness. But that's the thing about Picasso. He never lingered too long in one emotion. He moved through them like chapters, as if each period was a therapy session, a way to process and move forward. And then came Cubism, the moment Picasso stopped caring about rules altogether. He took the idea of perspective, something art had followed for centuries, and just shattered it. Why should you only see one side of a person, one side of a truth, one side of a moment? Life doesn't work like that. Cubism was his way of saying that truth isn't one-dimensional, it's fractured, layered, chaotic, just like people. When he painted Les Demoiselles d'Avignon, people were horrified. It was raw, awkward, unapologetically distorted. But that's the point. Picasso didn't want to create something beautiful. He wanted to make you feel. He wanted to tear away comfort and show you something real. He said once, "Art is a lie that makes us realize the truth." That line explains everything about his work. The distortion wasn't a mistake. It was the message. His influence goes way beyond painting. Picasso changed the DNA of modern creativity. Writers started to experiment with fragmented storytelling. Filmmakers began cutting and rearranging time and perspective. Designers and architects started thinking in terms of form and abstraction rather than imitation. The whole concept of modernism, the idea that art could be subjective, messy, and imperfect, was born from that same energy. And it wasn't just aesthetics. Picasso's psychology ran deep. He was an artist during times of war, dictatorship, and social turmoil. His most famous political work, Guernica, is one of the most powerful anti-war statements ever made. It's not literal. It's emotional chaos on canvas. You can feel the horror without needing to understand it. He painted the pain of humanity itself, stripped of any sense of order or control. That's what makes Picasso so different from the artists before him. He wasn't painting what he saw. He was painting what he felt. He didn't care if the world understood it or not. He was brutally honest about the human condition, that it's not always beautiful, not always complete, and rarely ever makes sense. And that honesty, that rebellion, is what shaped modern art and modern thinking. Picasso stood for freedom. He believed in destruction as a form of creation. Every painting, every sculpture, every experiment was a challenge to authority, to expectation, to comfort. He refused to be trapped by one style, one identity, one version of himself. That kind of creative courage, that willingness to fail and rebuild, is something that defines the greatest innovators today. You see it in music, fashion, and film. Artists who take risks, who reinvent themselves constantly, who make people uncomfortable before they make them inspired. That's all Picasso. He taught the world that art isn't supposed to be safe, it's supposed to shake you. In today's world, where so much creativity is polished, filtered, and made to fit in, Picasso's philosophy hits even harder. He embraced imperfection. He found beauty in distortion. He didn't chase validation, he chased truth. He showed that chaos can be honest, that ugliness can reveal something pure, and that simplicity can be deceptive. Even his quote, "Every act of creation is first an act of destruction," captures how art and innovation actually work. You can't make something new without tearing down something old, a belief, a tradition, a version of yourself. Picasso didn't just talk about that idea, he lived it. Every era of his work was a rebirth. And maybe that's why his name still carries so much weight. Picasso isn't just a symbol of art. He's a symbol of fearlessness. He represents what happens when you stop trying to be perfect and start trying to be real. Picasso changed the way the world sees. He changed how we define creativity, how we understand emotion, and how we interpret chaos. And maybe, in some way, he gave everyone permission to break their own rules, to destroy, rebuild, and find beauty in the mess. Because that's what Picasso stood for. Not control, not perfection, but freedom. The freedom to express, to experiment, to exist without explanation. And that's what makes his influence eternal.